So now we can give the floor to Samuel. And let's see if time allows us to have questions, because we have to finish today on time. Is the last day, as you all know, and the closing session has to take place at a very specific time.
No está ya, todavía no está aquí, lo tienes aquí, Samuel. Perfecto.
Muy bien, buenos días. Muchas gracias. Lo primero a...
Good morning. Thank you very much to the ONCE Foundation for organizing this conference and giving us the opportunity to present this our work. Also, I would like to thank José Manuel for chairing this table. We are from the Department of Telematic Systems Engineering of the Polytechnic University of Madrid, and in this case the presentation is going to look at something complementary to what Laia said, a specific... Ours is not a specific network. We are here showing an example of general social networks, and specifically microblogging like Twitter. So what we do in this work is how to obtain accessibility in this kind of social networks. There are many details that are written down on our minutes. This is work that we're doing, but I'm not going to focus on that on our presentation. I just want to give you some general information so that you get a general idea of what we're doing when we write on Twitter and how this affects the potential users that may have accessibility problems. So in order to do that, the first thing that we'll do is present microblogging to show you why we decided to study the accessibility of this, and then to show you the different components that interact with microblogging and its relations to accessibility, what are the problems for each of them, and what can be done to fix those problems, but without going into much detail on statistics or anything. Microblogging, if we look at the formal definition, it says it's a communication model as a blog with very reduced entries. The most famous is Twitter with 140 characters. It's based on services that allow users to publish messages on a website or on a profile page that the users have, and the users can subscribe to read the messages of those people or entities on whom they're interested in order to receive immediate updates. Normally these are only text updates, even though we can also find microblogging services that offer images, links, etc. I have put here some examples in order to understand what the microblogging exists, and then some more details on accessibility. So, for instance, a person says that a group should go to a concert, another one is promoting a cooking book, and another one says something which cannot be read, DCF chilling / etc. So he says he's in Washington having a great time with 2 other people at a specific event. So this shows us what could be the accessibility problems of this service. This is microblogging. But is it only this? No, it's much more. After doing an analysis on the 1,000 more visited sites, according to a service that collects visits, we have found that 28%, which are the 2 sectors in green in this graph, have the content that the user generates in its center, the videos, microblogging, etc. 28% of the 1,000 most visited sites have content generated by users in the center of its importance. And here we find things such as Twitter, which if we focus on microblogging, that's the most famous one. Twitter, there's others. But there are also other services that offer microblogging. They may call it wall, such as, for instance, Facebook 20. Google is once and again trying products such as these with Google Buzz, Haiku. There's also other open initiatives such as Status, etc. There are many microblogging sites. And if we look at the graph downstairs, we can see the amount, at the blog at the bottom, we can see the amount of visits. In March 2010, you can see that we arrived thousands of visits a day, but I think that in April this year we'll have 150 million a day. And this has practical consequences on our daily practice. This is Tahrir Square in Egypt after the uprisings from the Arab Spring. Many people demonstrating, and they were called through this kind of services. Here we can see someone with a banner saying, "Who fears Twitter?" Rather shows the traffic on the internet in Egypt in February, and it was cut. Why? Because the government was scared of Twitter. Another person with another banner in another demonstration saying "Tools for Revolution," and he has crossed out a gun, a knife, and he has written Twitter and Facebook. Also, this is Spain. This was not here when I wrote the presentation, but it has happened now. Someone in the Puerta del Sol Square where he says, "No one expected the Spanish Revolution," and Spanish Revolution uses the jargon of Twitter. So Twitter can be used for revolutions, but also to sell, to communicate, and many other things. This small collage is some of the most visited accounts on Twitter. Singers, Lady Gaga, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Obama, Ellen DeGeneres, which is a socialite in the US, the Times, Bill Gates, NBA, the White House itself. So it seems that Twitter is something that is of importance. All these accounts have more than 1 million users. Some of them have more than 10 million users. And so we can think, okay, and accessibility here, how is it achieved? Because it seems important. If we do not have accessibility to Twitter, we have no participation channels with all of this. And what our colleagues have said here before have to do also with social participation. In order to obtain accessibility in Twitter, we have the obstacles related to the internet, such as web content, etc. But there's also other things related specifically to these services. For instance, this is a tweet that may be real, and it says a few things. And how would a screen reader read it? RT@PP Minalao @Kanta ? Well, you can see here on the screen //HTC3RQ. Basically, what it wants to say is that Pepe says that today, Friday, I suggest the tweet of Laura Garcia. I love it. She's great. Question mark. So, obviously, we will be missing if we use a screen reader to translate this. And so there are many agents that need to intervene in order to obtain the accessibility of microblogging content. And for this, we have compiled a model of all the components that are used, taking into account the layer, the web layer components, accessibility component, etc. And we see that there are different agents. First of all, we have the users. This is the first layer. They create the content and access the content. Then we have a second layer, which is intermediation. Because as Jose Manuel said at the beginning, Twitter or Facebook you cannot access directly. There could be intermediate services like the one he presented, which transmit the messages through voice, for instance, using a mobile. And finally, we have the final layer, which are the services offered by Twitter. This is a 3D model that is quite complicated to explain, but I would like to talk to you about each of these components in the second part of the presentation and see what obstacles they can present. First of all, I would like to say that this layer here, the front, is the web engineering, the